Hey everybody, I'm here with some Guild Wars 2. So, I know what you're probably thinking. You're thinking to yourself, there are a million people out there streaming and videoing and commenting on Guild Wars 2, so why are you wasting your time doing that when there's so many other people doing it already? And I gave that a great deal of thought before I even came in here to record this video, and I came to the conclusion that I'm gonna have to start treating these videos that I'm making a lot like how I treat the text I write on the blog itself. And that being that the only thing of value that I think I can really contribute as a result of doing this is to give my own personal perspective on these games. To try to talk about them holistically or definitively just doesn't make a lot of sense to me because there are so many other people out there doing that sort of thing and so many established media outlets for people to go and consume that sort of content from that it just really doesn't make any sense to me to do that sort of thing. All I really have to offer you folks is my own unique opinion and perspective on the games that I'm playing from both the standpoint of someone who's played games for a really long time and someone who actually has made a game or two. So with that said, I'm going to try to talk a little bit about this game on a couple of different fronts. First off, talking about it in terms of how it compares to other MMORPGs that I've played, most notably World of Warcraft, because that's the one that I've spent the most time with, and also how I feel it stands as its own separate island. Talking about it in terms of, if there were no other MMORPGs, if none of those other competitors existed, and I was just rating this game on its own merits, where would it fall in my thinking? So, and again, as I've said in previous videos, these are not meant to be taken as definitive statements or reviews about these games. These are just more of a taste, a little initial impression, kind of first blush of the first several hours of playing the game. I've not logged more than, say, a dozen or so hours with this game, and as we all know, with MMORPGs, that's just barely scratching the surface of anything. Alright, so let's move on. So here we have our character creation screen. You see we have 5 different races to choose from. I'm going to go with humans just because that's the character or the race that I went with on my first character, and so I have some idea what to expect from the starting area, and that'll make it a little easier for me to play and comment at the same time. But obviously you have very non-human-like choices at your disposal here if you want to make a different type of character. So we'll go with a male because, well, that's what I identify with, being one. I know some people like to play female characters even if they're male themselves just because, well, they like to look at their butts. But, as much as I can understand and appreciate that point of view, I rather play a character that I can relate to, something that reflects kind of who I am and what I'm about. So that's just a personal preference. I don't think there's anything wrong with playing cross-gender by any means. It's just what you're into. So, having said all that, let's look at possible... Now, I went Elementalist with my first character, and as much as I would think that would be kind of interesting to show, I think for the purposes of demonstration here, I may go with just your good old-fashioned classic warrior. Just to A, see how that's different myself, and B, start from a point that everyone should be reasonably familiar with. If you've played a lot of MMOs or a lot of character action games, like the warrior archetype is something that I think most people can relate to pretty easily. I'm not going to spend any time at all on character customization just because I want to get into the action, but as you can see, there's lots of different things that you can do. I'm just going to let the cards fall where they may as far as these background story decisions and whatnot. Again, I don't really care much about any of this for demonstration purposes. Obviously, if I was making my own character that I was going to keep and play long term, I'd want to make those choices legitimately, and I certainly did that on the first character that I made, but just kind of want to blow through this stuff and let you see what it's all about. Let's see if that's available. Okay. Let's try again. Well. Come on, nobody can have that name, right? Nobody would use that name other than me. Okay, so you get your basic introductory segment here with a little bit of a cutscene. I'll let you hear that.
Now, we struggle to hold our ground. We've been defeated, driven back, broken. But we will not surrender. So many nations have fallen. Only Kryta still stands. Our faith is strong despite the silence of the six gods. With courage, we'll make our stand in Divinity's Reach. The city is my home. I was born into luxury, a noble of Divinity's Reach, and privilege comes with responsibility. I protect the commoners under my care. They believe in me. I'm grateful for their trust, and I will not let them down. Today, I plan to venture beyond the gates of the city and see the world for myself. When I arrived in Shaemor, I found the town under siege by centaurs. Innocent villagers are in danger. Someone has to help. I will show the people that we can triumph, that there is still hope. This is my story.
Okay, so as you can see, the choices that I made, or kind of blew through there in character creation, kind of dictated elements of that opening cutscene, but having played through it with some different choices, I can tell you the differences are pretty subtle. So you basically end up in this initial area regardless, and you have a basic mission, to take care of. This is kind of like a bit of a tutorial, a bit of just jump you right into the action kind of thing.
Get to the inn. We can protect you at the inn.
Alright, so this guy's telling me head to the inn, and as you can see on the mini-map down in the lower right corner, there is an indicator, that sort of star-like indicator, which is showing like a major quest objective. You can see like my vision cone, kind of as I pan the camera around, the vision cone on the mini-map changes to indicate the direction that I'm facing. All sorts of stuff that you would expect, from something like this. Makes it very easy to navigate and get where you're supposed to be getting. Also doesn't hurt that I've already done this once before with a different character.
Sergeant, there are more centaurs on the other side of town. Captain Thackeray's calling for reinforcements at the garrison.
If he's calling for help, it must be serious. But I can't spare anyone.
I'll go. Captain Thackeray's never failed Divinity's Reach. If
Cool, Nolan North. You do that.
Balthazar, bless
Nolan
you.
North, in case you
That's
guys
the
didn't
spirit
know.
That'll win this
Doing
war.
the voice for your
Good
character. Alright, let's get up on out of here. I'm going to try to get through this stuff reasonably quickly, again, since I've already done it before, and I know this is, for anybody who rolls a human character, this is basically going to be the same experience that you have, so I don't want to really dwell on it too much. But I'd say things that jump out at me right away, starting to play this game basically from scratch. you know, the combat is interesting. You've got some things working in your favor that I think separate this from other MMOs in a good way. The combat's a little more fast action in terms of like animation speed and the things you get to do. Looting is real quick. You just basically hit the F key to search and then take all the items from the critter you've downed. You can do some interesting things like double tapping your movement keys to dodge, which actually factors into fighting. You know, as long as your character has the endurance for it, they can roll in and out of attacks. So it's good to kind of save that a little bit or manage that resource so that if you need to dodge something, you can. So let's get up here into the garrison, have a little throwdown. Oh, I guess I need
How can I
to...
assist you?
I think I was meant to have an encounter back there on the bridge, actually. I kind of blew past it. It's leading me in this direction, but clearly I'm not meant to go in there yet. Now let's see if killing a few of these guys helps my cause. I remember when I did this the other day, there was very clearly... Yeah, there we go. There was very clearly a huge group of people here killing these things on the bridge. And we got this part done almost immediately. So I was able to just advance right up to the garrison. But I think in this particular case, it's going to want me to clear out some of these guys here before it lets me move up. It's amazing to see just the difference between today and a few days ago. How few people are here. Like when I did this the other day, there were literally like 30 or 40 people here on this bridge with me. But I mean, that's to be expected. You know, a lot of people have moved on beyond this point in the game now. Like I'm sure a lot of these people who are with me are probably rolling alts as well. So, and as you can see, as I'm taking swings here with my primary strike, I'm earning new abilities just kind of dynamically by virtue of hitting these creatures with my main attack. So let me step away here for a second because I think I can get into the garrison now anyway. But so I started out with this basic slash attack, and now I'm gained access to some other abilities as a result of using that. So basically, in this game, whatever weapon you have equipped dictates your slots 1 through 5. So whatever, you know, if I were to switch to a gun or a staff or whatever weapons this character class is capable of using, all of this stuff down here would change, and I'd be back to having a single ability until I used it enough to unlock the other ones in the sequence. And you also notice I have this sort of custom stance or character-specific battle mode. This kind of parallels what I've seen in the Elemental class, where it's like basically you have a mode that you're in, and then you have the stuff that you do when you're within that mode. And then you've got like these special slotted abilities that you unlock as you gain levels. Like I think on my other character I'm level 7, and I have the second one unlocked already, and you can basically go in under your character sheet, which is H, and do the skills, and that's where you would unlock and assign all this other stuff. And then you have passive abilities that you can spend skill points on, and it's madness basically. There's just a ton of stuff to cover in this game, and there's no way I could possibly show it all. But just so you can see, like, here are all the different types of weapons this character class can use, and as you can see, I've been using swords, and so I'm unlocking the abilities that are associated with that. And I guess at some point here I'm going to get an offhand, and that will let me utilize maybe shield bashing or some other relevant ability. But as you can see, interface-wise and whatnot, it's all very similar. Yep. So I missed my opportunity there to get in. I guess what happens is whenever there's enemies over here to be killed, they close the gates and then open them up once this has been cleared out. It's alright. Gives me a chance to grind some more XP and get some fat loots. I mean, fat starting area loots, as it were. Okay, so that 3 ability seems like a group attack. That seems like it'd be handy in a group situation. Just waiting for that door to open, basically, so I can get up on in here and get to this next part of the engagement. I guess what this does is it segregates it so that by the time because when you go through this door, you get into like a group activity where you're killing like a big boss, so it seems like maybe it's waiting for other players to catch up to me so that we can go in and do this together. It looks like it's just basically gating the encounter to make sure that there's enough people here to complete it before it actually lets us in, which it is kind of a smart design decision, although it makes me wonder what'll happen, you know, in situations where there's not enough people to get this done. That's a nice little jumping attack there. That kind of reminds me of like the Jedi jump-in attack in SWTOR. For those of you who played that game, might look familiar. So that looks like we have an elementalist here because I recognize these fire spells from my other character. So it looks like we got some people here. That's probably going to allow us to proceed into the next stage of this encounter. At least I would hope so, because I don't want to spend all day on this bridge. Come on, buddy.
It's a soldier's life for me.
Open the door, I say, unto thee. Alright, it's gonna be like that, is it? Always when you're filming, you know, always when you're trying to demo something. Okay, so it looks like I completed that segment of the event, so I got an award for that. Yeah, so now I get to go talk to this dude and proceed. There's a lot of dynamic events in this game where it's just like you'll be in a certain area and something will be happening in that area, and as a result you get to participate in it just by virtue of being present.
Maintain the pressure. Knock them off balance.
Behold, the ocean's power!
Yeah, that elementalist has some idea what she's doing already, because like she clearly already knew to switch disciplines from fire to water here.
There's another wave coming.
Whatever, we got this.
All do our part.
We got this. Yeah, but
Report any
I guess that's the one potential downside to not having played the warrior before. I'm not intimately familiar with his abilities just yet, so I may not be playing him as effectively as possible, but as you can see, things here at the beginning are fairly tame as far as like what you're responsible for doing and whatnot. Like, it doesn't really start throwing you into the deep end until you get past this introductory sequence. So that guy knocks me on my butt. That's the same thing that happened last time. Oh, and now he runs outside after knocking me on my butt again, because that's what he does. And now we're going to go out here and something's going to happen. That guy is tall. So again, you know, if you play a human, this is going to be your introductory sequence to the game. As I said, I've already came through here with a different class, and this encounter is basically playing out exactly the same as it did there, which is fine. You know, nothing wrong with that. It's basically just to give you an idea of what the game is all about. You know, it's it's all about getting in here and hacking and slashing and messing some stuff up. But I mean, especially in this particular situation, the combat is almost, it's just, predictably what you would expect. I have a self-heal that I can use periodically, which is nice. I have that jumping attack, I have that group attack and my main slash. And as I play more, I'm going to get access to more stuff to use. I mean, really, this is kind of a tanking scenario almost that I find myself in, where this thing clearly needs to get hurt, and I'm the one to do it. We've got this guy pretty close to being down. I'll pop my heal again, just to keep my health up. Let's get over here and whack on this part, because it seems to be the thing to do. Go crazy, mashing on the buttons. Okay, so now he's gonna go boom, and we're gonna get knocked out. Alright, so that basically sets you up as far as the route of the main quest line, because basically you're going to be introduced to this character here who's kind of nursing you back to health.
Where am I? What happened?
And clearly
You
your
were
character
injured when the
has an
elemental
established
exploded.
relationship with.
Captain Thackeray brought you here personally. You've been unconscious for 3 days. You had lots of visitors. Villagers you rescued, some seraph, even a noble from the city. He came by several times.
That'd be Lord Farron. He's a good friend. I'll check in with him once I'm fully recovered. What should I do now?
Fresh air and exercise are the best medicine. The goddess Dwayna helped you. Perhaps you could help others?
Thanks, I will. And thanks for taking such good care of me.
Bless you. You'll find plenty to do out in the valley. May Dwayna protect you.
Alright, so whenever you finish a major quest or do anything super important, you're going to get a choice as to... that's just telling me it's putting me in the overflow area because there's so many people playing. They can't put everybody in the same shard or instance of the world all at once on the server. Basically all the servers are at like max population right now because there's so many people playing the game. But anywho, so I could grab that. I think I'm going to take the shield just because I'd like to see if that unlocks the other two ability slots when I equip that. So let me go in here and equip this. Yeah, I'm not sure if that's going to be the case or not, but I would assume so. I would assume that slots 4 and 5 here are going to be, yeah, so there's shield bash and shield stance. I guess that is like just more of a block than anything, like an offensive and a defensive shield ability. Seems to be what those other two are when you have the sword out. Alright, so let's roll out here. I'm not going to show too much more, I don't think, because I don't want the
Come talk to me.
I don't think I want to give away too much more of the beginning of the game or anything. Just wanted to give a basic idea of what this thing's all about without getting too deep into it. Let's talk to this guy, I guess.
Fields beyond Shaymore are Kryta's breadbasket. Since the Centaur attack, citizens are trying to rebuild their lives. But it's tough with bandits and dangerous wildlife roaming the area. Don't wait for an invitation. Jump in and help them.
So as you can see, this map is pretty fleshed out. You know, they do a pretty good job of indicating to you exactly where
This
all
is
the
a
points of
waypoint.
interest are.
Waypoints appear on your compass, which is in the lower right corner of your screen. You can also see them on the world map, which you can access by pressing M. Press M again to close the world map. To teleport to a waypoint, open your world map, and click on the waypoint to which you want to travel. If you wish to improve your skills, watch for special challenges. They'll test and teach you.
So there you have it. And obviously, at any point, I can hit the M key and access this map. Gee, I wonder if I should maybe follow that giant green arrow somewhere. So this gives me an opportunity to do a little of that compare and contrast I was talking about with regard to this game versus other MMOs I've played. I would say, based on what I've seen of it so far, it is very comparable to other fantasy MMOs, such as World of Warcraft. However, I would say it's not quite as rote compared to WoW as you might expect. You think about a game set in a fantasy setting similar to this. You look at the way the game looks and the way it, generally feels to play it, and you might, be tempted to initially just dismiss it as a clone or something that's, completely derivative of World of Warcraft. But it has definitely got its own sort of flavor and its own way of being that I think is kind of impressive to a certain extent, given that paradigm that's been established by WoW and how easy it would be to just fall into that and kind of wash, rinse, repeat the WoW formula in this game. They do a lot of interesting things with dynamic quests where you basically just move into an area, and just by virtue of being in that area, there's a handful of different things that you can do that allow you to contribute to those quests sort of on the fly. So it's not like you, say, as you do in WoW, walk into a quest hub where there's like 5 people with exclamation points over their heads that you have to then, go and grab all the quests from and then do them and then return and wash, rinse, repeat until you're done with that area. This is a lot more fluid. It's a lot more about just like being out in the world and coming across things and experiencing them on the fly, which I definitely appreciate. I feel like that aspect of this game goes a long way toward making it something a little more interesting to play. And also you have, like I mentioned previously, the faster combat at work here that just lets you kind of jump into the mix and dodge and feel just more engaged as a general rule than I would say you do in your typical MMO combat. I mean, don't get me wrong, it's still very cooldown oriented. You're still just cycling through your main attack buttons whenever they become available, but there's something about the speed at which you do it and the fact that you have those like dynamic movement options available to you that make it just that little bit more engaging, that little bit more interesting than your typical MMO. And, let's face it, this is not a bad-looking game. WoW is really starting to show its age when it comes to presentation these days. And, something with a little bit more visual flair is certainly welcome at this point. So I definitely have to say, based on what I've seen of this game so far, I think it looks pretty good and has a good feel to it. So that's something to consider as well. And of course the main, huge selling point that's always been the case for Guild Wars is just the lack of a monthly fee. You can get in, play this game, have a good time with it, and your purchase of the game is basically your only cost of admission. They'll, at some point, I'm sure, do paid expansion packs for this, but the sense that I get from what I've seen of it so far is that there's quite a bit of content here to be seen and experienced, in that initial $60 price point. So, having said all that, I'm going to search for some loots. So this is a kind of neat thing I wanted to show, and this gives me the opportunity. This mail system is kind of nice. You can get stuff mailed to you, and from what I've seen, there is no like real trading mechanics to speak of. It's more about, oh, that's interesting. So somebody mailed me something to a different character, and I actually got that mail here. That's kind of nice. Neat. Okay, so there's that. Rather than trading with people, it seems like mailing them stuff seems to be the main mechanic for moving items around to and from one player to another. I also should mention there are professions and crafting and things that you would expect in this genre of game. The one thing that I like that I've seen so far is that there appear to be no specific gathering professions. You simply pick up an axe to cut down a tree, or pick up a scythe to harvest a crop, or pick up a pickaxe to mine something. And it's just about having the right type of those tools to harvest the resource you're looking for. Now, how they handle things is that the various types of resources you're harvesting are level restricted. So, like, you can't harvest the second tier of mining nodes until you reach level 10, I believe it is. And that's, I think, a good way to handle it. You know, they don't make you take up one of your two active profession slots with harvesting or farming profession. So that's kind of nice. The other thing is I've noticed that profession progress is not lost. Like, so say you start out as a tailor and you decide, oh wait, I want to go to jewel crafting for a while and do that instead. You can do that for like a small in-game currency fee, and then switch back to tailoring at a later time and not lose any of the progress that you'd made in that skill. So basically you can have all of the different crafting skills eventually. You just have to spend the time grinding them all up, but then you don't lose anything when you switch from one to another. It's just that you can only have two active at a time, but you can absolutely just okay, so here you see there's that fight for your life mechanic, which has become kind of popular in a lot of other games, where like when you're on the verge of going down, if you kill the thing as you're fighting for your life that was about to kill you, you get a little second wind and kind of get back into the mix. Oop, I was in the process of healing myself when that happened. That was not cool. Alright, so there you see that. Worked again. Man, really hard to try to talk about this, well, in combat. I should probably be avoiding combat as I try to talk about some of these other features. But I just wanted to show just how crazy this game can get in terms of just getting into the mix randomly. I mean, you know, you just walk around the countryside and like there's always something for you to fight. There's always something for you to engage in, and that's kind of cool, you know. Anyway, yeah, I think the problem with trying to talk about this game is I could very easily just go on and on indefinitely talking about all the different things that are in it. It's definitely a big game that's got a lot of stuff to see and do. It's going to take you, you know, quite some time to, you know, see everything that's in this game. You know, see, I'm in this starting area now. That's the world map. You know, and I can tell you, even on my level 7 character, who's quite further along, I've only been like over to here so far. So like, there's tons and tons to see and do in this game. Like, don't think it's, you know, a situation where, you know, you're gonna see the same 3 areas, you know, over and over again. You know, like, there's a vast open world here for you to explore, and I think that's probably one of the things that attracts me to this game the most versus other MMOs I've played, because I really feel like one of the best strengths of World of Warcraft as a game was the sense of place that it gave you and the sense of being in a living, breathing kind of world. And I think based on what I've seen of this game so far, it maybe even goes a little further in that regard and does a little more, because it's just so, there's just so much going on all the time. Like, it's almost it's almost overwhelming, like when you're first starting out. Just all the different situations you can get into and how just crazy everything is. But I think that pretty much sums up my initial feelings on the game. I mean, obviously I've only played a few hours of it, and I've only scratched the surface of, you know, the potential that it has and what all there is to see and do. But hopefully this gives you at least some kind of sense of what it's all about and gives you some idea of whether or not this is something that you'd be interested in checking out. So until next time,